On the 16th of January 2023, I saw the following, which I believe then confirms that this Black Death plague is coming indeed, and that it is going to be the Black Death. Glory be to God. I saw what looked like a man dressed in black. His face was that of a bird of prey with a sharp beak. He had in his one hand a harvesting scythe, like one ordinarily associated with the Grim Reaper. The scythe was close to his chest. I could clearly see the metal blade. So clearly this individual was like the Grim Reaper, but not the Grim Reaper. And this person was there to kill, hence the scythe that he had. I then knew immediately that I was looking at the spirit of death, since that's what the scythe symbolizes. It's what the Grim Reaper, who in Caucasian culture symbolizes the spirit of death. Amen. With his scythe, he harvests human souls. This is now the Grim Reaper. However, the man I saw wasn't a skeletal figure like the Grim Reaper. He had the head of a bird of prey. When I saw this, I was reminded of the depiction of the Black Death doctors of the 1300s in Europe. He looked like that. So he looked like what they called back then a plague doctor. Amen. They wore a mask with a beak, not to be macabre, but for practical reasons. So they were not trying to just scare people by looking like that with the beak. Amen. There were very practical reasons as to why they did it like that. So the costume consists of a leather hat, a mask with glass eyes, and a beak, a stick to remove clothes of a plague victim, gloves, waxed, a linen robe, and boots. Amen. So they dressed like that for practical reasons, because they were dealing with contaminated bodies. The typical mask had glass openings for the eyes. Amen. And a curved beak shaped like a bird's beak with straps that held the beak in front of the doctor's nose. The mask had two small holes and was a type of respirator which contained aromatic items to ward off the stench of decomposing bodies. So that's why they had a beak like that. So they were not just trying to look scary. So that face was for practical reasons. Amen. So that means there's a plague coming. Amen. There's a plague coming, and this plague is going to be like the Black Death. It is the Black Death from what the Lord is saying. However, we saw the plague doctor, the doctor who's supposed to be helping people, because back in those days, the plague doctor would then hold a stick, and with the stick, they'll be, removing people's clothing from their bodies. But this one is holding a scythe. So this doctor is holding a scythe, meaning the doctor is the one who kills. The doctor is the one who kills. Amen. And I believe there's a clue, a huge clue as to what's going on here. Amen. So the reason I saw a plague doctor is likely because this now holding the scythe is likely because the pharmaceutical industry has something to do with what's coming. So like I said, this thing is going to be man-made. Amen. It's going to be man-made. Glory be to God. Amen. But this is not the first time I see this. Not the first time I see this. Amen. Like I said, I have seen this before. I've seen those bumps. I've seen that cloth. I've seen the dye. The reason the Lord is repeating this is because this cannot be changed. Can't be changed. Just like Pharaoh in Egypt saw his dream twice, saying exactly the same thing or with the same meaning. Remember, he saw the cows, and then he saw the crops as well. And then Joseph told him the reason why he's seen the same thing twice is because the matter has been established, has been settled, and it cannot be changed. So it means that's the same here. We cannot change this. This thing is coming. Amen. There is going to be a plague. It's going to be the Black Death, and it's going to devastate many parts of the globe. Glory be to God. Amen. So once again, the Black Death was a bubonic plague that broke out in the 1300s in Europe, Asia, and parts of Africa. It killed 30 to 50% of the population of Europe in a few years' time. That's 75 to 200 million people in a matter of just a few years. Symptoms include sudden high fever and chills, pains in the areas of the abdomen, arms and legs, headaches, large and swollen lumps in the lymph nodes called buboes that develop and leak pus. Amen. So once again, another virus is coming, another pandemic is coming. Amen. I believe it's the Black Death. Amen.